Hello, every pony. Ah, I didn't think you'd see me again tonight, huh? Well, you're wrong. You see, I just got a new subscriber, and you know what that means? It means I am so giddy happy. Oh, oh! I am even more happy than usual because this subscriber said I am a great reader. Yes, you heard correctly. And one second. I would love to give a shout out to said reader. So, Ninja Moonshine 7, this is for you. Please, Ninja Moonshine, especially every pony, especially Ninja Moonshine or any of my other subscribers. Send me requests, please, please. I can't just go off of the featured box of film fiction. I just can't. Otherwise, I would never have gotten to One More Thing, which is an amazing fic that I've read. Made me cry, and I'm kind of an emotional masochist in that I like crying sometimes. It's liberating. It gives me perspective on how happy I should feel. And I like that. So yes, please, please, please give me suggestions and fics. I will read. I promise you, I will read them. Save for the clop fix. I don't do clop fix. Okay, it's a lie. I've read a couple, but I will refuse to read them for the masses. That is the thing I'm actually kind of ashamed of, really. Because this My Little Pony thing for me is a way for me to separate my inner child from my sexuality, and that gets very convoluted sometimes. Psychics would not like my. I'm kind of like Deadpool. You don't want to go in my head. You just don't. Okay, now let's go on to chapter 15, I believe, of Fallout Equestria Project Horizons. This chapter is called Flank. Ooh, yeah. This one gets a little saucy, given the nature of Flank being, well, the name says it all. Okay, Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, Chapter 15, by Somber. Flank. That wasn't the doozy? How could that not be the doozy? Oh, I love that episode. Feeling pinky keen. Once upon a time, when I was just a filly, my flank was blank. And then one day, it wasn't anymore. Rivers had inherited a deck of cards from her mother, and we were playing Blackjack, the only card game my feeble math skills could handle. Rivets, Daisy, Marmalade, Hatches, and myself were sitting around a table in a storeroom, drinking synthetic apple juice and betting impossible sums with nuts, bolts, screws, and the occasional old bit. We were having a great time. Then Hatches had to pee. The door of the storeroom was, like most, a pair of metal plates slid up and down by an electric motor connected to a button. She'd pressed that and started through. There had been a short, and the door closed on her, the large, heavy slab falling from above, and the smaller sheet began being pushed up from below, with her body in the middle. A horrible snapping sound. Then the mechanism had caught, and the door opened again. Over in a second. We just watched, stunned, as she kept walking on shaking limbs. She reached the stairs and crumbled and died 2 minutes later. We still watched, too shocked to even move. Did I mention that we only started calling her Hatches after she was crushed? I couldn't even remember her real name now. I wish I could remember her name. I'm sorry. Why the fuck do I have problems reading words that start with R? Oh, my speech impediment. Oh well. Pet the fox, pet the fox. Because now I knew exactly how she felt walking down that long metal tunnel. My heart continued its rapid staccato at every step. Every step made my organs feel like they were being sloshed around inside me. Only the buck kept me walking. We'd run out of steady, and I was forced to walk between Glory and the curious Reaper that had saved our lives. I need to fix her. Why can't I have fix her again? I asked as I slumped against Rampage's polished metal armor. The articulated plates shifted under my thrash sparting. Fixer is not a cure. Fixer is an even worse drug than most of what she'd been swallowing while my back was turned. Gloria was decidedly snippy and had retracted her previous statement about my intelligence. Instead of lecturing me about how I screwed up so badly, she decided to try and fix the problem by educating me about it. Fixer is a psychoactive like Dash and Menthols. It doesn't do anything for your actual symptoms, but make them ignorable. You have been trotting around with your heart rate at over 100 beats a minute, when you should have been lying down, trying to metabolize the chems and recover. Besides, you ate the last tablet an hour ago. Rampage. Besides, you ate the last tablet an hour ago. Yes, I'm attempting a Harley Quinn-esque voice for Rampage, because that's how I always imagined her. Harley Quinn. Favorite Batman villain. I'm sorry. Could I have a frog in my throat? That tends to happen while I read. Rampage added with an amused snicker. In the few hours we've been traveling together, I learned little from the strange pony with shining armor, who was still smeared with darkening gore. Her hoofclaws tapped the asphalt with a persistent metallic beat as we walked. I had, though, been able to see that her armor wasn't part of her body or something, like Thea's. It was just really good metal armor. It was just really good metal armor. And the pony under its bulk seemed not much larger than me. I'd also noticed that the few bits of coat the armor left exposed bore strange bright red markings in a pattern that looked almost like zebra stripes. Sorry, frogs everywhere in my throat. Ah! She also ate Menthols like clockwork, taking out the white tablets and popping them in her mouth one by one. But did Gloria give her a 15-minute lecture on the properties and perils of Menthols? No. Instead, I learned more about pharmacology than I ever cared to. Still, steady, I discovered, caused nerve damage if used too frequently. Med-X caused the mind to experience phantom pains. Buck was damaging my joints and muscles and doing a number on my reproductive system. Oh. But the real monster, apparently, was Hydra. One sec, I need to move the toolbar. I float the toolbar, in case you wanted to know. Only unicorns can perform magical healing, and there are a few who can perform the service. As a result, Pegasi and Earth ponies found a way to regenerate injuries using a hormonal extract of certain glands from hydras, hence the name. The harvesting is difficult enough, but the real peril is that the chem suppresses normal recovery long after it wears off. Your body's natural healing processes fail, and you die cell by cell. She looked scared. One hydra is bad enough, but 2 or 3? You can drop dead on your hooves. And that's not counting taking a stroll through some nice, quiet E-fields, interjected Rampage. I've seen ponies liquefy from a combination of Hydra and strong enough innovation field. And a strong enough innovation field. Kind of cool to watch, actually. She said brightly, grinning at the sick look Gloria and I shared. Oh, what? Oh, what? You think that's the worst way to die? No, I muttered. I've seen worse. Like what? She asked with a mocking little smile. I wasn't really in the mood for Reaper taunting. I looked at her flatly. I fed a pony through a rock crusher once. She blinked, looking speculative. Tail first, I added, and was rewarded with a small look of shock on her face. Now her pink eyes looked skeptical. It's true. It was the only way I could kill a pony monster named Gorgon. Rampage stopped in her tracks, and I slid off her side and fell flat on my face. You really killed Gorgon? At Brimstone's Fall, I answered as I tried to get my hooves to support me. He was trying to kill me. He'd taken over the mine, and I had to take him out. Her wording hit me. How did you? I muttered. I nervously started to ask. Rampage gave me an even stare. Gorgon was. I knew him. I felt dread creep up my spine. If she decided to attack and avenge him, what could I do to stop it? My only chance was 3 magic blows to the face, and even if I wasn't sure if I could even pull it off. And he was my friend. And he was a friend, she added, and as I almost switched to sets right then, but instead of looking angry or upset, I couldn't tell what expression that was. Happiness? Lucky bastard. She bit the neck of my barding and hauled me to my hooves. You aren't mad? I asked. Should I be? She asked in return once I was standing. Gloria looked at her, as confused and weary as me. He was your friend. She sighed. There are worse things you could have done to him. But who was he? What was he? Gloria asked. My friend the monster, was all she said, was all she answered. And after look and at the scowl that accompanied it, I nudged Gloria and shook my head. Rampage was not a safe pony to press right now. Not till we knew more about her. She certainly wasn't quite the psychopath I'd envisioned. But that didn't mean that she couldn't be a psychopath I hadn't envisioned. Like Harley Quinn. She walked along. We walked along together together for a bit in welcome silence. We entered a small valley where the Sunset Highway crossed over another road from Hoofington before heading off to the southwest towards Philadelphia. We'd been hit by raiders twice. I simply sat down on my butt, floated out the carbine over my head, and played gun turret while Rampage eagerly dismembered them. Played gun turret. That has to be fun. Look, I'm a turret. You're dead. Yeah. The white and red pony's serrated armor tore our attackers in half, and each kick over hoof blades shredded hide and armor alike. Watching her moves, I realized two things. I did not want to fight her, and I appreciate just how tough Reapers had to be. Reapers. Just like Deus. Oh, that's a sobering thought, isn't it? 1 second. Okay, then. Yes. Work. There you go. Have you heard of some pony named Sanguine? I asked as we finished looting the second band of raiders. I wasn't finding any links to Enclave on them, but the paranoia was nibbling at my mane. Sure, Rampage replied. He's a unicorn ghoul. Real nutcase, too. Drinks blood. Lots of business deals and a surprisingly snappy dresser. Used to be a doctor before the war, or so I heard. She looked down at me with a smirk. And no, personally I don't do much business with him. He works out of paradise, though. He's hoof and friggin' hoof with Ursery. Ew. Just ew. Okay, that killed the dash I just took. The fuck? I just imagined Sanguine and Ursery getting the giggity on. And yes, that was a Family Guy reference. Okay, no. Dash is back, y'all. Is there a way I can get in contact with him? Why would you want to? I lifted my pit buck. He wants a file on this. He sent Deus into my stable, and I'm pretty sure he's why Deus is after me. No. Having a vagina and having shot him with artillery is why Deus is after you. Oh, Rampage. But yeah, he works a lot with Sanguine. She took a deep breath. If you really want to hand the file over, he'd probably pay you and smooth things over with Deus and Ursery. Maybe he'd get you out of the hoof. But if he wants that file, it's because somebody else wants it. Somebody with a lot of pull in the hoof. I can only think of 2 or 3 with that kind of swing. 4 if you throw in the Enclave. She added with a glance at Glory. Big Daddy Reaper, Elder Crunchy Carrots, and King Awesome. I couldn't have heard that right. King Awesome? And here I thought calling myself security was pretentious. He's head of the society. Rampage said and then snorted. Hey, don't look at me. I didn't name him. And is he? I asked with a wan grin. Awesome, I mean. Rampage shrugged. The society is the biggest source of food, of real food in Huffington. King also managed to clear out the plantations and build the greenhouses, screwing over the eggheads in the process. He brought the oranges on board and convinced Roselook Agrifems to join the society. They charge a premium, but food is food. She glanced at me. Of course, they use slaves to farm it. Any affinity I have for Prince Funded withered on the vine. They what? Rampage seemed amused by my anger. Oh, 1 second, y'all. Okay, I'm back. Sure. You don't expect aristocrat. You don't. Blah. Man, that's just nothing from my articulation. I gotta quit doing that stuff. You sure don't keep. Sure, you don't expect aristocrats to get their hooves dirty, do you? Until Red Eye came along, they were the premier slaveholders in the hoof. Heck, maybe in all of Equestria. She frowned and rubbed her chin. You know, I always wonder where Red Eye got the caps to pay for all those slaves he's been funneling into Philadelphia. She struggled and then looked at me again. Anyway, the society prefers to call them serfs and servants, but it's one pony wearing an explosive collar and another pony with their hoof on the trigger. So it sounds like slaves to me. Even feeling as lousy as I did, and with everything turning in my brain, I somehow managed some fresh, smoldering anger. It was refreshing to have something wrong to focus against. I might not be able to do anything right now, but it was something to think about. I added it on my mental things to do list somewhere underneath survive and above save Equestria. We arrived. The town filling most of the valley and had evidently been a major suburb of Huffington. Several 5- and 6-story buildings. Whoa. Sorry. Several 5- and 6-story buildings hunched sullenly together in the center of the ruins like brooding mares. We passed a sign that read, "Welcome to Frankfurt," or flank, because the furt is like marked out. I don't know how he did that in the script. Well, hope you like your stay. That warm greeting was marred by less charming messages of dash 20% more fucked. Stella, fuck Caprice, 50 caps, fried in 10 seconds flat. Die, zebra, die. There was a balefire crater to the north, but most of flank appeared burned rather than blasted. A morass of ponds and muck lingered in and around the roofless remains of the houses, but I didn't see one strand of swamp grass. Nothing grew in flank. Then I felt it. My heartbeat was becoming irregular as I staggered, my hooves falling out from under me. Blood was trickling down my nose and my ears. Tears much too thick to be simple salt water ran down my cheeks. I couldn't seem to breathe as I fell flat on my face. Blackjack? Blackjack, what's wrong? Gloria yelled as she turned me on my side. Innovation, probably. Flag is full of E-fields, Rampage said in mild irritation. Guess the hide had weakened her body enough that she's crashing. Do something, Gloria asked, as she looked up at the Reaper. Please. Rampage rolled her eyes and gave a dismissive snort, grabbing me and dragging me several feet back. My heart rate beat steady as I lay there. Now, more than ever, I suddenly realized just how fucked up I was. I could have died. I could have liquefied. It finally happened. I was afraid of dying. Not of dying personally. That was sort of a, well, it would suck if I did, kind of concern. No, I was thinking about not resolving things of Peak 21. It was wondering what would happen to Glory if I died. Thinking of that, for the first time, I realized I was scared shitless that I'd kicked it, and leave them that I'd kick it and leave them to go on without me. I am such a stupid pony that I had to bleed from my ears and from my tear ducts before I could see that. Yes, Blackjack, you are indeed a frickin' retard. But we love you nonetheless, right? Right, my little ponies, and not so little ponies. Ugh. I don't know what Glory was doing, injecting me with the very chems that had deteriorated my body, I suppose. She gave me a healing potion that tasted like ass, but I couldn't even throw it up. We have to get her to Flank's doctor now, Glory said desperately as she looked down the highway at the distant gates. It was at least a mile or two, maybe more. Give her some dash, Rampage said, eyeing the ruins around us. Oh, pop another Menthols, Glory snapped back. She's this close to dying she's this close to dying anyway, Rampage said as she took out the tin and licked one of the tablets, chewing. If she can make the run, maybe Scalpel can get her in the airlock fast enough to do something. Otherwise, she's a corpse. She frowned. And in case you missed it, we've got scavengers coming. I saw them creeping out of the burned-out ruins, naked and emancipated or wearing the thinnest rags. Bloodshot and yellowed eyes. Slat-sided ponies, poor and desperate, crept slowly closer and closer. They all looked just as reckless as I was, but there was a lot more of them than me. Give it to me, I wheezed. Don't make any jokes about that, seriously. Oh dear Luna, I can't. Yay for a Luna mention! This deserves a happy dance. Okay, let's go. Dear Luna, I can't believe I'm doing this. Glory groaned and took out a red cartridge with a mouth tube attached. She put it to my lips. Breathe in as deeply as you can, she muttered as her hooves compressed the cartridge, and I felt a hot, stinging gas fill my lungs. Funny, I didn't notice much difference. What was the big deal? I looked up and I stood up and shook myself off as I grinned at all the gaunt ponies starting to surround us. They were all staring at me, which made sense. I'm security, the badass, the man with a 100,000 cap bounty. In one puff, I'd gone from dying to amazing in 10 seconds flat. Gloria looked like she was going to cry. Why? I felt great. I was great. I think I just felt an orgasm. Yeah. What the Blackjack? Hey, Blackjack. Bet you can't beat me to the gate. Rampage taunted as she started to run. Miss Reaper thought she could beat me. Nothing can beat me. I could fly right now. And I was going to prove it as I started to run. I was so badass I was drooling. Yeah, badass. As we ran, I felt all sickly. But my freaky magical fields, freaky magical fields couldn't touch Blackjack. Every point at the gates of Flank was staring and slipping aside. You bet they would, because Blackjack was in town. Look out, Flank! I'm bringing a gun and I'm bringing the gun and the Funktastica. I didn't even know what that word meant, but I was bringing it because I'm Blackjack, the security mayor. Oh yeah. We're walking, Rampage said as she walked in front of me. Oh, Miss Armored Pony thought she was going to win. No way, because I'm Blackjack, made of awesome, bleeding awesome. Yeah. I couldn't really pay much attention because my eyes weren't working. That's because I got freaky mutant eyes. Because I'm cool and stuff. It was kind of hard to walk. It was getting kind of hard to walk. Rampage bit me by the neck and barking and dragged me the last few feet into a building that smelled of blood and piss and shit and blood. Oh, that must be me because I smell awesome. Once inside, she's dropped me out on the floor. Mom! Rampage roared, warm up the auto dock now! It looked like some sort of doctor's office, like medical back in 99. A long counter ran across the middle of the room, and 4 armored guards were rising to their hooves. 1 second, need to deal with the cat. Okay. Celestia, damn it. 1 sec. I swear that cat's gonna be a death of me. It's 2 in the morning and he's still. Oh well. Excuse me. Frog in my throat. Rampage, an older lavender unicorn, poked her head into the foyer and looked at me through thick black framed glasses. She wore a profound expression of disappointment. Her white lab coat was smeared with numerous stains. Not another one, Rampage. I can't keep treating every poor thing you bring in. Just give it some dash and let it die in peace. It's security, Mom, Rampage said. Everything began to tumble away. I think her heart stopped. So, who can name the 6 ministries established by Princess Luna to combat zebra aggression and save Equestria? A teacher textbook asked as she looked over all the attentive fillies and colts as we sat together in Sybil 99's classroom. The projector showed cartoon ponies of cartoony pictures of 6 mares arranged around Princess Luna. A gray circle looped around them. The red mare lowered her glasses. Blue? The young blue colt, sitting ahead of me, cleared his throat as he stood. The 6 ministries were awesome, arcane sciences, wartime technology, image, morale, and peace. Very good, Blue, she praised the young colt. Wasn't there a seventh ministry? Daisy asked as the shy little earth pony jumped when a colt glanced her way. Oh, that's a good question, textbook said as she changed it to the next slide. A flowchart. There certainly was more to Equestria than just the ministries. Though the ministries did revolutionize Equestria in a very short time. There was Luna's government, which was responsible for enforcing Luna's decrees and laws with the common pony. There was a military, which operated independently of the ministries, but worked with all of them. There were also private businesses. Many of them worked with the ministries. I kept dozing off, and my eyes were drawn to the gaps between the bubbles on the flowchart. So, can you tell me the responsibilities of the IOA? Goldfish? Go fish? Textbook asked. I sat upright in my seat and shouted, "Blackjack! My name is Blackjack!" Giggles filled the classroom. Blue looked back at me with a warm smile. He was my best friend, and the sound of cards being shuffled filled the room like static. Everything turned gray and fuzzy. When my focus returned, the colts were gone, as were the bright colors. Everything was now mixed with gray. Daisy smirked at me. She was my best friend. If that was a friend was. If that was what a friend was. Duct tape cringed from the snide smirk of Marmalade. Only rivets could put up with our shit. Only rivets didn't put up with our shit. Textbook no longer smiled, instead talking with the apathetic boredom that came with rote instructions. Go fish, Blackjack, whatever. The IOA, I don't think this was in the book, teacher. Nevertheless, it's something important you should know, she said with a bored, disinterested sigh. So, can you answer, or... never mind. I snorted as I folded my hooves on the desk and rested my chin atop them. Who cares who some dumb IOA was? Anyway, the ministries were the ones who ran Equestria, and Luna. They were all blown up centuries ago. I raised my hoof. Sit, teacher. I need to take a leak. Uh-huh. She waved the hoof at me, and I stepped out of my desk and trotted to the door. I was in security. It didn't matter if I knew history, as long as I knew how to shoot a gun or swing a baton. Outside the classroom, the colors were bright and cheery. Bucks and mares talked as they strolled away, discussing their jobs and what needed to be done, what was needed in the stable. Blue sat outside the classroom. the young colt listening in. "Oh, hey, go," he began, and he caught my look as it gave me a sheepish grin. "Blackjack. Much better name." "Hey, Blue. I had to get out of there." I smiled brightly at him. "So want to sneak out of maintenance? I can help with your readings, and we can—" A purr of cards plunged the world into gray hues. Mares walked along in isolation and talked in low, soft voices. The colt cowered behind metal crates, listening in. "Take you to medical. You're not supposed to be out here. You're a colt." "Please," he stammered. "I was just listening." "You're a colt. That means you have to stay with the colts till a filly wants you." Why a filly would want a colt for anything was beyond me. Colts didn't actually do anything inside the stable. It didn't work. They didn't study. They just ate food and did whatever they did. "I don't want to go back," he said quietly as he peeked through the crack, and the teacher droning on and on about how wonderful the ministries were. "Can't I listen? I want to find out about this stuff. About all this stuff." "No, you're a boy. You should go to boys' school. This is the school for fillies," I said and stomped my hoof. "Anyway, I'm in security. I got to take you back. That's what Mama would want." I kicked his flank. "Now march." A flicker of color. Maybe I was going to kiss his boo-boo. Maybe I was going to ask his name. But the purr of shuffling cards kept the colors all dull. Kept all the colors dull. We got back to medical, and instantly the colors returned. The nurses and doctors were very thankful for me to finding Blue, and gave us each a peppermint stick. I watched to see what they escorted to the colt school. There were a dozen foals and colts, and colts sat where 2 dozen foals and colts sat in desks listening to a much better lesson on rainbows and why rainbows were awesome. I wanted to ask if I could be allowed to stay, even if I was a filly. A sigh. A shuffle of the cards. The colors drained away. There was no school. No rainbows. No lesson. Just rows of bunks and beds, and on which curled the colts of Stable 99. The toys were broken things that fillies didn't want anymore. They were all so small. Such a little space to live in. The nurses kicked him back into the door, demanding to know how he'd gotten out. The head doctor scowled at me and suggested I go back to class. Then Big Macintosh shoved in the doors with all the marauders in a burst of awesome. "Alright, we're shutting you down. This has gone on long enough. May Celestia forgive you for what you have done," Psalm intoned gravely. Fluttershy flew in and guided the colts out, with Pinkie Pie giving them all a cake and Rainbow Dash making them grin just by being Rainbow Dash. A sigh. A shuffle. Macintosh and Marauders were gone. Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash too. Everything that had once been glorious and good and bright was just a dream. No pony stopped the screams coming from the colt, as he was shocked again and again as it demanded he tell them how he escaped. Fucking put a bale firebomb in that stable. Timer. Activate. Run. That's all I'm going to tell you, Blackjack. Fucking blow that shit up. She won't. It's her home. She can't kill it. Still not dead. I was laying on a bed next to a machine full of strange glowing tubes, jars of fluid, and glowing magical gems. I felt better. Not like I had at the priest had finished with me, but definitely better. My legs were only a little twitchy. My heartbeat had dropped to rates below running for my life. I had a brand new pair of puckered scars. Pucker that ass. I'm gonna slap you so hard I'll make your ass pucker. I'm sorry, I just had to do that. One to left middle of my chest, and the other halfway down my left side. Entry and exit wounds for a beam of energy. The dingy room had a glass fronted. The dingy room had a glass-fronted cabinet full of chems. I looked at the red dash and handlers with a surprising longing, remembering just how great I'd felt. Still, if it wouldn't help me or help Glory, if it wouldn't help me help Glory, I didn't care. The injectors of Stampede were a much larger draw. Don't even think about it, the middle-aged lavender pony said gruffly as she walked in, her tired purple eyes watching me sharply. I developed a sixth sense for when my patient is up and eyeing my stocks. Her mane had gone prematurely white, and I could see hints of purple. I could still see hints of purple. A pair of crossed scalpels decorated her flank. You're lucky. If it hadn't been for that friend of yours, I wouldn't have even bothered. She knows how to use an autodoc as well as I do. In case instructions weren't made. In case instructions weren't made while you were choking on your own blood, or introduction. Sorry, I'm Scalpel, Blackjack. I replied, trying not to eye the chems. Sorry about that, nearly dying thing. Thanks for patching me up. Oh, you're not out of the woods yet, she replied as she walked over to the autodoc. This is the machine that, with enough time, skill, and healing magic, can restore almost any injury. It can analyze, diagnose, repair, and regenerate just short of a megaspell lever super restoration. There's only two things it can't heal. One's death, and the other is taint. She said as she worked the controls, and a cartoon image of a frowning pony appeared on the machine's screen. There were all kinds of cute icons showing bloody lungs, a leaking heart, black guts, and broken bones. And since I'm not dead, I sat closing my eyes. Let me guess. Mm-hmm. Scalpel said with a little sigh. Sometime in the last few days, you were exposed to it. I already checked your friend. She's clean. She added once I opened my mouth and closed it again. If it hadn't been for the taint, I think you probably would have pulled through on your own. At least well enough to reach here without your heart exploding. The taint interacted with the chems, making for a doozy of a... Blech, I cannot talk. Making for a doozy of a mess. You're going to need at least 2 more treatments to reverse most of the damage. Radiation, innovation, and now taint? Is there any other mysterious and lethal aspect of Huffington I should know about? Ghosts, maybe? Death beams from the clouds? I said as I rubbed my head between my hooves. I'd read the entry on taint in the Wasteland Survival Guide. Nobody knew what it was or what caused it, but if it got inside you, it would slowly mutate you and corrupt your mind and body. A lot of the wildlife had been mutated by taint, had been horribly mutated by just a little bit of it. Knowing my luck, I'd gotten more than a little, than a little. So am I gonna grow tentacles, a third eye, tentacle penises? No, eye tentacle penises. Oh my gosh, Blackjack, you really are one sick puppy. Probably not. There's no surefire way to measure just how much you were exposed to. She pointed to the display with your hoof. Major trauma to the heart, some damage to the lungs, your brain. Who knows? She looked at me with a little tilt of the head. You seem to be taking this pretty well, all things considered. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I've got a doozy of a bounty on my head. I've got the Reaper Deus after me. One of my friends thinks I'm a drug fiend. My other, I felt the shake starting and took a deep breath. Don't suppose you moonlight as a therapist, do you? She sighed and lifted her scratched glasses off the end of her muzzle. Well, I am charging you 30 times my normal price, so I'm probably in the therapist ballpark. What's on your mind? 30 times my normal price? Wow. I took a deep breath, wondering just how I could admit it. I raped some pony. I said it. Just like that. I'd expect that I had to fight it, choke it out, dance around the confession. Instead, it slipped out as easily as bleeding. I raped a buck in my stable. She looked at me oddly. Okay, and? And? The fuck does she mean, and? And it was fucking wrong. She just sat on her haunches, looking at me as if mildly baffled. Huh. Well, that's novel. What is? Guilt, she replied as she walked over to the locker and lifted a key from her pocket. She brought out a bottle of wild Pegasus and two shot glasses. Locking the door, she trotted to a little table beside the auto dock. It's a pretty rare condition in the wastelands. It results from either an overabundance of morality or getting kicked in the head too often. She said quietly as she poured two shots. I looked at the nearest shot skeptically, licking my lips. You're treating me for chem damage. Are you really supposed to be giving me alcohol? I can drink the both of you. I like this doctor. I really do. I can drink both if I can drink both if you prefer. She asked with a lazy smile as she lifted the shot. Well, I don't want my doctor to get too drunk. I rationalized and took my shot with glee. She chuckled. Oh, trust me, it'd take far more than two little shots to get me drunk. Oh, she does live in Flank, she said, smoothly smiling mirthlessly as she looked at me. I'm in the hierarchy of shit of the shit messed up in your life. The booze is pretty low. I am so happy to be reading this stuff. I love this. She downed her own drink, gave a shiver and smiled. If you're feeling guilty about this rape you did, then there's a reason for it. Because it was wrong, I muttered. Why? She asked, and she was still smiling. What do you mean, why? Are you telling me rape is okay? Considering the number of mayors I've treated in the past, over the years, apparently, she said with a small shrug. I've heard mayors brag about raping mayors. Mayors brag about seducing bucks. Bucks crowning about buttering colts and fillies, laughing and breaking fillies. Colts and fillies. I've heard about crowning about buttering colts, and fillies laughing about breaking fillies. You say it's wrong, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking you why. I clenched my eyes shut, because I wouldn't want it to happen to me. If our places had been swapped, then I don't think I would have survived. Oh, well, that's the easy bullshit answer, she said as she poured two more shots. Do unto others as I'd have them done unto me. Till you have to kill someone who deserves it. Till you fuck someone who that doesn't want it. To take what isn't yours. If I accept that other people will rape me, does that mean it's okay to rape others? She put the cap on the bottle. Was that true? It was, but only up to a point. If I was okay with somebody putting me down, was it right for me to kill every pony I wanted? No. He's my friend. Though I can't be sure of that anymore. So when he wasn't your friend, it was sex. But when you cared about him, suddenly it's rape. Simple solution: shoot him in the leg, and it'll be sex again. Ugh, Scalpel, you are a cruel bitch, but that's funny as hell. Scalpel said with a chuckle that as she took off her glasses and rubbed a hoof across her bloodshot eyes. That's an even lamer excuse than the previous one. Why is it a problem for you, Blackjack? Because I want to be good, alright? I yelled at her, glad I had recovered enough to shout. I don't want to be fucked up. Everything is fucked up. You're fucked up. Everything I see is one pile of shit after the other, and it's looking more and more like the only way to be good is to die. I shouted at her, knocking the shot glasses and bottle of whiskey away with a sweep of my hoof. I'm sick of seeing everything fucked up and wrong. I was happy when I didn't have a clue how fucked up the world is. What? That is making me want it more. That is making that I was making. That was making it more fucked up. That I am still fucking it up, even after the shit I've gone through. I said as I sat back down. I've raped P21, and I didn't even realize it was wrong. I couldn't save Glory from fuckers I knew were bad news. And it seems like the only way for any pony to survive is to become like Deus and kill every pony and any pony they want. Shit, here I was, crying again. My stupid tainted brain and wicked tainted heart throbbed as I lay down, back up down on the ground, hiding my face under my hooves. There. I'd finally thought about it. The wasteland was fucked up, and so was I. It's nearly 3 in the morning. I get to yawn now. I think I get to. Strip away my good intentions, and I was just as sick as the raiders and slavers I killed. Was it too much to simply want to be good? I want to be good too, Scalpel said quietly. I peeked up at her tired smile and sad eyes. Some days more than others. Month after month, I see ponies chewed up by addiction, injury, hopelessness, more than any other part of Equestria. I deliver stillborn foals because their mothers can't get out of the innovation fields. I try to keep dash addicts from huffing Brahmin dung because the act of living hurts. I screw them up, heal their hurts, numb their pain, and send them back out into this fucked up world. I'm usually the last one who sees them before they kick it. And damn me, I still care. Even knowing that they're destroying their lives. Because I can. Because I don't want to be another heartless doctor, handing out healing like I'm an autodoc. Because I'm the only difference between me and the fuckers that cause the hurt. Because that's the only difference between me and the fuckers causing the hurt. I care. And caring hurts. No matter how you fucking slice it. Blackjack? Glory said from the doorway. I stared at her in horror and saw the expression mirrored back at me. I clenched my eyes shut, feeling the shakes start. It's what you said. Did you really? Oh, fuck, Blackjack. Did you really? She said in a tiny voice. I've been so focused on Scalpel, I didn't hear the door open. Yes, I said, unable to look at her. CO99 is just nothing more than one great big rape factory, and I was part of it. I didn't know better. I should have. I'm sorry, Glory. And now she knew who I really was. I wasn't strong. I wasn't good. I certainly wasn't smart. And if she had sense at all, she'd leave me before I did the same or worse to her. Trying and wanting to be good wasn't enough. Blackjack, she started. I shook more and more. How? Because I'm not a good pony. So just leave, Glory. Staying with me costs you your cutie mark. It's going to cost you more and more. And now I was tainted too. Contaminated. Will it drive me crazy like the raider sickness? Twist my body till I was grotesque and mutated beyond recognition. I suddenly had an image of Gorgon. Would that be me eventually? Whoa, yawning like the big boys. Yeah. My fox fell over. Yes, I have a little plush fox, who stays in my pocket. I call him Pocket Fox. Yes, I am that kind of pony. Even thrived when I'm not dancing my flank off. In my own club, with like 5 other ponies, because it's not that popular. Oh well. Hey, I'm nightlife. What do you expect? Okay, let's go. Would Glory someday smile when she heard I've been fed through a rock crusher? So, just go and find somebody better than. Then I felt her hooves gently reach around me and hold me as she pressed her face underneath my jaw. I couldn't move. I could only shake as I returned the gesture. I spent my whole life working for ponies that betrayed me and branded me a traitor. For all I know, I could have helped them with their plans against the surface and not had a clue. She whispered softly, I think about every Reddit we run across and wonder, did I have a part? Did I have a part in that? No matter how remote the possibility may be, I can still I still can't help but feel like I am to blame. You're a good pony, Blackjack. You keep trying and you never give up, no matter what you have to do. No matter what you have to do. I fell apart at that point, and Glory did too. I think we both need to just give in a little and hurt, because caring hurts, no matter how you slice it. Dot dot dot. Okay, I have a choice right now. I either go to bed right now because it's 2:46 a.m. or continue on, and my cat's finally curled up, sleeping. Finally, the light's on. That's probably why he's wonky. If the light wasn't on, I would be asleep by now. Yes, I love you ponies enough to deprive myself of the glorious wonders that is sleep. And I have a picture of Pinky sick on my wall because, yeah, tummy ache. Alright, so I'm going to stay up because I love you ponies, but I need a fox, so I'm holding my little fox plushie. Okay, let's go. 2 hours later, I was back on the auto dock. Scalpel's horn glowed as the machine whirred and chirped and did whatever it did to put me back together again. There were tubes of nasty gray, maroon, and yellow feeding into collection jars as he tried to remove as much damaged tissue, and hopefully the taint along with it, as possible. I spent most of the time explaining the fine nuances of Stable 99's fucked up society to Glory. Glory listened as she fiddled with Leo's broken rifle. I personally thought it was a lost cause, but right now I wasn't going to begrudge her. Still, I just standing there was boring, and I certainly didn't want to pay attention to what was being removed by the auto dock. Glory, could you come here and play an audio file on my pip-buck? Oh, Luna, no, Blackjack. Ah, it has to be done though. Okay, moving on. I glanced at Scalpel, who returned the look with the indifferent shrug. Glory trotted over and sat down. With my limb restrained by the auto dock, she had to operate my pip-buck. Which one? P21's audio files. You need BJ number 3. I said as I looked at her. I may as well. It's not like it can get worse than raping him and neglecting him, right? Glory gave me a troubled look. Yes, I was going to keep beating myself up with that until I resolved things with P21. She worked the controls deftly, and then there was a crackle. We're safe here, U21. They can't track us down here. A security mirror told me so. P21's voice was soft and hushed, panting desperately. P17. We can't stay down here forever. This is the stable. There's nowhere we can go. Eventually they'll come down here and check all the places that they can't track. She soft noises of nuzzling and then quiet little sobs. You stay here then. I'll find whoever is going to be the next U1 and kill them. I just need a little more time, P21 said desperately. I've got a mare teaching me how to access the overmare terminals and get her override commands. We can sneak out together. No, P17, no. You're not going to kill a colt for me. I've done it before, P21 whispered. You've done it before. And you'll never do it again, even if I have to turn myself in right now. The soft voice of U20 said firmly, bringing me more tears from P21. Us killing our own is what the mares want. Takes the blood off their hooves and puts it on ours. I love you. I don't want to lose you, P21 whispered. I knew you would, U20 said softly. Soft noises of kissing and quiet, strangled sobs. Then I heard my voice echoing in the tunnels. They've got to be down here, somewhere near those park generators. I think. See? That didn't take them long. U20's voice was quiet and resigned. You stay here. Keep out of sight. They just want me. No! Please, no! P21 sobbed. I think I hear them, I said. Then I paused. There you are. U-20. As per Stable 99's bylaws, you are required to come with me to security for your removal from the unicorn breeding population. I'd never realized how bored I sounded when telling a pony they were about to die. I understand. I'm ready. U-20 said. No! Yelled P-21 with a thump, and then a sharp crack of a baton striking a skull. What the heck's gotten into you, P-17? A thump. Another thump. I could hear my heart rate increasing on the auto dock monitor. Please stop, U-20 yelled U-20. Then there was a shove. Another sharp crack, deeper, wetter, and a yell from me, and another crack, and another crack, another, and another, and another. A thud, and then a thud of a body hitting the floor of the concrete tunnel. Another, then sickening quiet, punctuated by P-21 broken sobbing, as I cursed about stupid crazy males. Don't cry. I heard U-20's softest whisper. It could only have been caught by P-21's microphone. Had his mouth, but had been. Oh fuck! It could have only been caught if P-21's microphone had been at his mouth by cradling his head. I love you. I love you. My hooves echoed in the tunnel. Whoa, Blackjack. Is he dead? Daisy's voice sounded impressed. I wanted to puke. Yeah, I think so. Fuck, I'm going to get in so much trouble for breaking procedure. You okay? Going off the blue one too? Can I watch? I already fucked up once today. I'm not going to make it twice. Can you girls haul the body up to security? Go through the motions? Yeah, sure. Come on, Marmalade. Lift your head. Lift your end. The sound of a dead unicorn being hefted onto Daisy's back sounded, and then the hoofsteps receded. P-21's went with horrified little sobs. So, here's the plan, P-17. We're going to medical and they give you a shot to calm the fuck down, or something, okay? Okay. Kill me, P-21 said, with between shaky, gasping breaths. What was that? Kill me right the fuck now. Kill me right the fuck now. Or I swear by Celestia and Luna, I will end you. Yeah, sure. Right. You're upset. I can see that. Males are always so over emotional. But those are the rules. Take it up with the Overmare if you want, but I'm not your executioner. Why? He broke down, sobbing again. Why kill him and not me? That was an accident. Yeah, my baton accidentally beat him to death. Not that. You were going to kill me anyway in a few months. A year at the most. So get it over with. I can't. It'd be wrong. The sound of him making a stand. The sound of me making him stand. Come on. Don't think about it. The tape cut. I mean, that if I have a weapon, I might kill you. Not because I was a mayor, but because I murdered the buck he loved. Do you know what fucking justice is? It's giving to others what as is given to you. I remembered that, tracking down U-20. He was a good male. Give you a rutting, and then you could talk, and he'd listen and nod like he really cared. I'd been honestly bummed that he was taken out of rotation. Only he disappeared from tracking. That had been unusual because most males never went down to maintenance. So how could he know where tracking was scrambled? But I knew. I knew all the spots. And I'd found him together with a blue earth pony that was only barely familiar. He'd been upset, and I assumed that was normal male hysteria. He'd attacked me with my guard down, and I'd used my baton. I admit, I was a little panicked. I'd never been attacked by a male pony before. U-20 had come to his rescue, shoving me away with his magic. I thought they were both going to attack me. I beat him to death. At the time, I thought I'd caught hell. Double work shifts. My position on the breeding queue was revoked. I was even under lockdown for a month. But the rule 799 was, don't think about it. And eventually, everything went back to normal. I felt strangely calm. My limbs weren't shaking. My heart beat steady. Blackjack? Glory. Glory said ass as she looked up at me. Are you okay? Yeah, sure. Don't worry about it. I wasn't. Because I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to give P-21 a gun. Oh shit. That's basically suicide right there, Blackjack. Assisted suicide. Why did I do that? I'm sorry. I get a little emotional in these readings sometimes. Male hysteria, right? Fuck you, Blackjack. Or old Blackjack. New Blackjack is good. She's a good pony. 3 hours later, Scalpel had me restored as much as the taint allowed. The old lavender pony simply scowled at a display that refused to change any further for the better. When I would get worse, and how I would get worse remained to be seen. Scalpel had been surprisingly mute on the subject of magical chems. Some folks handle them just fine. Some folks don't. If I were you, I'd avoid them. But I'm not you. That was much better than Glory, who seemed ready to bludgeon me who seemed ready to bludgeon me senseless, to bludgeon me into senselessness with big egghead words. Careful with those big words, you can hurt somebody. My barring was far less effective since the sniper beam had punched a hole clear through the front and left side. The thought of the cost of repairs made my withers quake. That was after the 1,500 caps fee out of Scalpel. I didn't even try to haggle with her. I could see just how badly she needed the caps. With my barring rolled up, I felt decidedly exposed, stepping into Flank. I needed to have been concerned. Flank was the first true pony town I'd seen in the wasteland. Little villages like Chapel and Stockyard, and I hate to admit it, Megamart had nothing on Flank. 6 large buildings filled a block of 4 lanes street. While the top floors were uninhabitable, lights still glowed out of the bottom floors. Strings of lights stretched back and forth across the street, and flashing neon signs constantly bathed the visitors in colorful glow. In their colorful glow, the bland sign of helping hoof quick care was hardly helped by the addicts lingering about the outside doors. Okay, I'm getting extremely tired, even with all the caffeine I've had. So next page break, I'm gonna go to bed. Okay, I'll put this up tomorrow, or later today, as it were. Across from the clinic was the exchange, a bank partially converted into a market. Quality vendors had booths set up, and while I saw lots of weapons and chems for sale, there wasn't a lot of extra materials stacked on pallets like in Megamart. After selling our salvage, I'd inquired about getting my barring prepared. The price from a vendor, quote, made a liar of bottle cap. The simple patching of holes in armor was apparently ineffective, infinitely more expensive than data analysis. I brought stable 89 utility harness. Hopefully Glory could work some of her repair magic. I bought a stable 89 utility harness. Hopefully Glory would work some of her repair magic. Outside the exchange, we saw Mixers and the Trough. Mixers was a shop that peddled chems exclusively. It was also some sort of club, but the music was certainly nothing like I'd heard on D-Day like on day pony 3. It was all beat and so fast that I suppose she had to be high on dash to really enjoy it. Makes her seem to take chems to a whole new level. Stampede was one thing, but what was Rain Boom or Philly Flash? Philly Flashers. I'm gonna flash that Philly. With what? Not like I haven't seen everything already. The trough surprised me. I had never seen a place devoted solely to food. In the first floor of an office building were a half dozen little shops and restaurants catering to the inhabitants and visitors of Flank. Yawn time. Epic yawn time. Epic yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to turn into a cat. Had to admit, I choked up a little at the sign of at a store named 200 Years Fresh that seemed devoted to salvage food. The sight of a box of sugar apple bombs made my mouth water. There was a butcher shop that definitely made me nervous. All meat looked the same, chopped up. And there was an enclave shop in the trough. It was called Cloud Fresh. Outside were two Pegasus mares in less severe looking uniforms than I was familiar with. In fact, with the amount of flank they showed, it was hard to determine if they were wearing clothes or lingerie. There was a bright, colorful banner showing apples trees growing amidst the clouds. Volunteer Corps, let us help. Their produce was certainly fresh, packed in ice or in trays, and cheaper than the produce being offered by security ponies. How much of it will turn you into a raider? I could still see Tumbleweed's head coming apart from my telekinetic bullet spell. The two mares looked at Glory and immediately closed for cleaning. They didn't even bother to hide their expression of contempt of her fresh pink Dashite brands. Scalpel had healed the injury, but the scars from the chemicals used to burn away the cutie mark were permanent, even with magic. I suppose it would take a mega spell to restore her cutie mark. Gee, slave-grown produce from society, or enclave produce that will turn you into a cannibalistic psychopath. I chewed on my 2-century-old apple cereal with a bit more satisfaction. Room was simply that. Rooms was simply that. A hotel with rooms ranging from mattresses in the lobby to private suites. That left stable 69. I know the joke is like blatantly out there, but it's still funny to me. Stable 69. The parking garage was certainly nothing impressive on its own. But it had been draped in neon lights that proclaimed, "Finest flank in Equestria." A 2-story high pink neon mare winked suggestively out at the streets next to a ridiculously endowed blue stallion. Oh my. Oh my. I muttered, getting a touch pink myself. I've seen bigger. Rampage snorted as she squinted up at the stallion, chewing her menthols. Aren't you eating a lot of those? Glory asked, having her hooves together nervously. Rampage's pink eyes glared at her as she gave a little squeak, jumping behind me. They calm me down and keep me from killing ponies that criticize me about my choice of mood-improving chems. She growled softly. So, aren't you glad I've got a lot of them? So, aren't you eating a lot of those? I asked, now coolly. I wasn't going to jump, no matter how she glared. Don't threaten her, Rampage. She's just concerned. She doesn't have to bother, she said with a little snort. I survive a lot worse than menthols. I took a deep breath. All right. So we need to keep an eye open for P21 or U21. It took us 2 days to get here, so they might have gotten here first. I also need to cash in these contracts for the finders. I looked at the entrance to stable 69, which means I need to go in there. I need to find parts for this beam rifle. Glorious. Okay, forget. I'm just gonna stop it right here. I'm about to pass out quite literally. So, good night, every pony. I will see you again in a few hours. Good night and big balls. My life out for now. Okay, everybody, I am back, and guess what? I've brought a very good friend of mine, Monster Energy Absolute Zero. Now, I know I sound like a sellout, but Luna, damn it, is this stuff good? And it's helping me watch my pudgy little belly. So, now where was I? Oh well. Oh. Okay, here we are. Aren't you eating a lot of those? Gloria asked, tapping her hooves together nervously. Rampage's pink eyes glared at her, and she gave a little squeak, jumping behind me. They calmed me down enough to keep me from killing ponies that criticized my choice of mood-improving chems. She growled softly. So, aren't you glad I've got a lot of them? So, aren't you eating a lot of those? I asked now, coolly. I wasn't about to jump, no matter how she glared. Don't threaten her, Rampage. She's just concerned. She doesn't have to bother, she said with a little snort. I've survived worse than mentals. Or mentals. Yes, mentals. 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 I took a deep breath. Alright, well, we need to keep an eye for P21 or U21. It took us 2 days to get here, so we might have gotten here first. I also need to cash in these contracts for the finders. I looked at the stable 69 entrance, which means I need to go in there. I need parts for this beam rifle, Glory said as she twisted and pulled out Leo's magical beam weapon, setting it between her hooves. The internal workings tinkled ominously as she turned it upright. The barrel had an obvious bend in the middle. You seriously going to try and fix that piece of junk? Rampage asked as she tapped her hoof claws against the middle housing. Was it just me, or did it somehow break? Did something new break just from that contact? Junk, Glory bristled. Do you have any idea what this is? Do you have any idea how little I care? Rampage replied dully as she leaned back. This is an AER-14 prototype. Well, this was an AER-14 prototype, one of a limited run that was developed to replace the Nova Surge rifle. Only 20 were produced before research was cancelled due to, well, the Balefire's mega spells. She looked at it in her hooves. And look, it has an emerald refocusing crystal instead of the standard ruby. And a Type D spark capacitor. A Type D! I've only seen them in books! She glared at Rampage. And you broke it. Rampage just sat there for a moment and then smacked the wrecked weapon once more with a hoof, denting the casing. Glory hugged the barrel to her chest with a whimper. You barbarian! She gasped as he striped a reaper grinned at her. Why, thank you, she replied with a grin. Well, since you two have plans, I'm gonna get plowed. See you later. Oh my gosh. I feel sorry for the poor buck that's gonna do that. She said and trotted away eagerly, swaying her hips and making her metal plates rattle as she danced her way into stable 69. She's terrible. Why don't we just leave her once we have P21? Glory asked with a little frown. We owe her, I said with a shrug. She's also one of the few ponies I can think of that really doesn't care about the bounty on my head. Plus, I'd rather not have her prowling around behind me. She's still terrible, and she's always eating those mentals. I have to wonder how bad she is when she's off them, she said as she stowed the ruined rifle between her wings. I'll head over to the exchange and see if I can find anything out about P21. You sure you'll be okay? Are you sure you'll be? Glory countered, looking at the brothel behind me. I know you're not in uniform, and that flank has a neutral ground policy. But what if somebody tries something? Then they'll do something stupid. I replied with a smile. I'm good at that. Glory winced. The wrecked wagons inside the sparking garage were stacked up in a corridor that funneled down towards an open service hatch. Pink lights gave up the service tunnel a vaguely organic feel that made my limbs creep. Posters with mares on one side and bucks on the other advertised the selection of to the clientele. Had I not been preoccupied by P-21 and what I'd done to him, I might have been in the mood for some enjoyment as well. I reached the round door to the stable. Surprising to see that instead of rolling, it was mounted on a swinging arm. A huge pink 69 seemed to greet us, as did the handsome buck and cute mare standing in the entryway. I looked a little closer at the numbers, and saw the actual number of the stable had been 89, with part of the 8 painted over to resemble a 6. After seeing stable 90, I expected to walk into an atrium like a 99. Instead, we were threaded past a utility storage area. The doors were all locked, and it'd be a little conspicuous to fiddle with them with the patrons passing me by. Finally, the hallway split with three arrows: finders, fun, and future employment. As tempting as the second was, caps came first. The finder's office was also the overmare's. I had to admit, I wasn't happy about that. Something else I found unnerving: no guards, no turrets. I couldn't believe that there was nothing protecting the stable. The stable. I walked to the overmare's door with a sigh and a frown. I guess it was time to do business with Blackjack's sister. ... Out to lunch. Be back whenever. Or not. Great. I hate waiting. Since future employment was not interesting to me, I followed the majority of the ponies in the direction of fun. Finally, we reached the atrium, and I found myself surrounded by a pinkgasm. The color was everywhere. Couches and pillows were arranged around little tables as bucks and mares circulated with suggestive smiles and strange, elaborate, and kinky outfits. Given that the ponies have no problem trotting around naked, covering up in feathers, lace, furs, or in strange outfits was one of the kinkier things I'd seen. In fact, I couldn't see the goods of a single mare or buck. Ooh. Rampage was nowhere in sight, so I figured she'd already snagged her victim. I had visions of orgastic excess, which showed just how off my mind was. Or orgiastic excess, which showed just how off my mind was. There was a number of bucks who seemed drugged out of their skulls as they sat around smiling pleasantly at everyone. Dashing halos were everywhere. Me, I stuck with Wild Pegasus. You don't look like you're having fun, a peach-colored mare observed from behind the bar as she poured my second shot. What? When did she get a shot? Oh well. As she poured my second shot, purple hair fell across her eyes, and she gave me a friendly smile. Is it the drinks? The company? Is it the drinks? The company? Do you need a hit? I'm just waiting for Caprice to get back to her office. The little earth pony gave me a worried frown. It's not you or this place. The whiskey's good, and I don't mind the decoration. It's just that there's a lot on my mind right now. Oh, a lot on the mind. Yeah, I hear that a lot. The bar pony said with a sympathetic nod. Still, if you can have fun, you should. Sitting there all sour doesn't do you any good. Oh, rhyme. Poet and didn't know it. She immediately perked up. I know. Let's make you something special. You don't have to. I started, but she was already diving into the refrigerator and pulling out various bottles. I wasn't sure if she was cooking or if she was doing cooking or chemistry with what she was going on in that shaker. Oh my gosh. This isn't gonna be your simple screwdriver, folks. She sat up, shaking the metal cups briskly, then poured something yellow into a glass. Here, this should make you smile. I guarantee you it's laced. She said it as she pushed the glass to me. I glanced at it skeptically, but she seemed too earnest for me not to try it. Well, here's hoping it's not drugged or something. I thought, and took a drink. Instantly, sweet tartness splashed across my tongue, and I swallowed in surprise. The sour tang lingered just a bit, and then it was replaced by a slightly alcoholic burn that quickly made friends with the whiskey I'd drunk before. I smiled, despite my mood, and drank the other half. That's really good. Thank you, I said as I looked her up and down. I'm Blackjack. I figured. That one's on the house. You look like you needed it, she said as she looked at my cutie mark. You know, there's gambling over at rooms. Cards, dice, roulette. You might have some fun there. You seem a bit fixated on my entertainment, I observed with a smile. Is that so bad? She said as she took off her apron and handed it to one of the other mares behind the bar. I mean, everything in the hoof is so terrible. So why not have a place that you can enjoy yourself? We have ponies from all around come here to unwind, dance, get high, have sex, pay for the pleasure, and go home with a smile. She said as she trotted out from behind the counter. Yeah, sounds great in theory, but then you look at all the blasted ponies hanging out around the quick care, and the price gets a little steep. Price makes money off misery. She cocked her head and looked at me sadly. You really think so? I don't know. I don't understand it. How does she live with making money off selling chems to addicts? Believe it or not, Flank is in the policy of stringing ponies out till they're falling apart. The original stable was a chemist's dream come true. There were chemicals stored here that had names so long you'd have to take a breath or two to name them. Unfortunately, the place was also lacking in entertainment, so some enterprising ponies mixed up something fun. Then another did. Then another did. The peach mare sighed, rolling her eyes. Eventually, the party ran out because some pony mixed up nerve gas and released it into the ventilation systems. Whoops, I muttered. Has stables been designed to self-destruct? Had stable tech been some sick experimental dream? Pretty much. Oh, wait, yeah, pretty much. The survivors got out and fortunately ran into Keeper. The original flight was a mess of drug dens and brothels. It's only been cleaned up in the last couple of years. There's all kinds of secondary dealers who couldn't care less to who they sell to. They keep scavengers picking over anything valuable in the ruins. The secondary dealers sell that in the exchange. Buy more dash, and the cycle continues. So why doesn't price stop it? How? Dash is easy enough to make if there's caches of material, and there's caches of materials all across Flank. If it were banned, then the buyers with real money would just go straight to the dealers who control, and all control would be lost. It's better for some wealthy society. It's better for some wealthy society aristocrat to get high than a starving addict looking for a fix. So if some ponies took out these dealers, what would happen? Well, I know Flank would be grateful. Since Mixers doesn't sell samples, the addicts would have more incentive to go to quick care. It would raise prices, making treatment easier than another high. Of course, Scalpel would probably complain about all the extra work. I frowned. I knew I should be looking for Caprice in P21. I knew I shouldn't be looking for trouble, but I also remember how I had felt. My body dying, craving more buck, more steady, more Hydra. How much it hurt. Maybe it was the drinks, or maybe it was thinking about what I'd said to Scalpel. I looked at each pony. Excuse me. One bad side effect of Monster. It increases likelihood of frogs in throat. I looked at the peach pony and then said, and where would a pony find these dealers? Star. Page break, let's go. Little addressment of y'all. I will be doing 2 of Fallout Equestria today, because this is like half of one. And then I'll do another one, and then I'll do 3 university days, because I'm a freaking masochist like that. Okay. And if you give me any requests, I will do those on top of it. I will now I pinky swear. Cross my heart and hope to fly. Stick a cupcake in my ow in my eye. I told the Twilight on that one. Okay, so I pinky promised. So or Pinkie Pie promised. So yeah, now if I go against it, I'm screwed, and Pinkie Pie will break the fourth wall and kick my rear. All right, I'm gonna take a sip here. And yeah, I paused the recording just so you wouldn't have to hear me drink my horribly caffeinated beverage and eat some Jello. So yeah, let's get with this. All right. Are you sure about this idea? Glory whispered as we looked at the factory and storage tanks a mile north of Flank or so. A mile north or so of Flank. Sorry. Once I'd found her and explained my idea. Once I'd found her and explained my plan, she'd been skeptical. But she came with me after using the 89 barding to patch up my security gear. It might not be much right now, but I just felt better with it on. Of course, it's my idea. I'm sure all my ideas are bad. I replied as we looked over the warehouse. Well then why? She began and saw my smile and flushed. Blackjack humor. Sorry. The first dealer had been a simple affair. One man working out the back of a wagon with 2 bucks guarding her. All they were taking was the look and the suggestion, and that she sell me her entire stock of Dash and get out of Flank now. I suggested Brimstone's fall. I only hoped she'd make the trip. The second dealer had been a larger operation. A half-dozen ponies working out of a gas station. The fight had been messy, but not particularly difficult. I used a pump-action shotgun and loaded with flesh rounds. Only one pony had enough armor to require the heavy revolver from the airbase. Not only did we secure the drug stash, we also greatly improved our own goods with their weapons and stockpiled wares. This dealer was different. I wasn't looking forward to fighting off 24 guards. On top of the 2-story building was a sign that read "Boom Inc." in letters surrounded by fireworks. From all the empty barrels outside, I suspected they weren't just reselling drugs from Flank. They were manufacturing their own too. There was wagons just waiting to be loaded. This wasn't just some little side operation. This was a full-on competitor. Rampage gave a yawn and as she shook herself. So you want me to just go over there and kill them all? She asked as she narrowed her eyes up at the building. No, I replied with a frown. My mane was itching like mad, and as I watched them roll a barrel of magical waste into the building. What the hell were they putting in these drugs? First, because I don't know if you can. She looked vaguely insulted. Secondly, I don't want to kill the guards and let whoever was running this show slip out the back. Fine. So if we're not going to just charge in and not all nice and sensible, then what? I admitted I wasn't entirely sure. We circled around to the side, but the back of the warehouse was completely sealed up. A large, round water tank rose up behind the building with a bridge of pipes connecting one to the other. I couldn't exactly see how we could get up on the water tanks. I looked at Glory. Are you sure you can't fly? The red Pegasus looked pained as she looked back at her wings. She bit her lip and started to flap, clenching her eyes shut. Her hooves rose from the ground, but then she jerked and flopped over on her back. She sniffed and rubbed her eyes. Sorry, Blackjack. Okay, my jaw is getting kind of sore. I've been at this for like 10 minutes now. The gray peg... Alright. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. It looked like we're going... I think someone meant don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It looked like we were going to have to go shooting. It looked like we're going to have to go on shooting. Then I noticed the metal stairs going up to a second-story door. They looked pretty rickety, but it was them we're going in guns blazing and hoping for the best. After getting a hole punched through me by Leo, I'm sorry, Leon is my mate's brother. A hole punched through me by Leo, I wanted to save that for plan B. We picked our way around to the side of the warehouse, and then made our way up step by step. Excuse me. I made sure Rampage waited until we were up. The door was locked, but I thought I might get lucky. I screwed up my face, sticking my tongue to the side as I lamented yet again P-21's absence. 2 pins later, I found the sweet spot and twisted. There had to be easier ways to open locks. Moving inside the second floor of the Boom Fireworks Laboratory, I was struck by the cobwebs and debris strewn across the floor. Certainly, this wasn't the part of the factory that was in use. I made my way through a few offices, but aside from the dozen or so caps in a drawer, there wasn't much of interest. Faded pictures decorated the halls, many showing elaborate fireworks over a shining white palace. Pinkie Pie danced with a sprinkler in each hoof, under a sky filled with fireworks, underneath the captions that read, "Explosions are fun! In the sky! Safety first!" Yeah. We found one room loaded with boxes and boxes of fireworks and rockets. Yes, Pinkie Pie, explosions are fun. We found another office with a large poster of Pinkie Pie shaking her hooves, with a black Pegasus with, of course, a firework explosion for cutie mark. Woo! I like this pony already! Second best pony. Or third best, next to, right after Fluttershy. My list starts with Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, and then the rest. In like one big group, because they're all awesome, you know? Except Applejack. She's like, best background pony. Oh, I just started a firestorm. Back to the story. We found another office with large posters of Pinkie Pie shaking hooves with the black Pegasus with... Okay, we already got this part. Carefully nudging aside the rag-wearing bones behind the desk, I noticed this terminal was still on and logged in. After 200 years? Wow, that's a bad flaw. I wiped away the dust on the screen. Memo number 34. Hey Sparkler, I couldn't help but notice that the last batch of fireworks was a lot less whoosh, whoosh, and whoosh, and a lot more fizzle and pizzle. Can you tell who this is? It's just not a party if folks see a little pop and then nothing. So could you do me an itsy bitsy teeny weeny favor and up the bang a little? Please, with sprinkles on top. PP. Memo number 35. Howdy, Sparkler. I got to say, I'm a mite distressed. Folks are wondering where our whole shipment of ammonium perchlorate went, and I'm a mite curious myself. So I'd be a one grateful pony if you could make sure your next batch of the stuff gets to my munitions plant. We can't fight zebras without the stuff what goes boom. Brayburn. Memo number 38. Sparkler, where did that AP go? I got MOM and MWT up in my main, and I don't know what to tell them. I'm sending you some more materials to try and catch up. Who's our liaison with the OIA? Onyx, or is it Emerald? Do they know where it went? Press Boomer. Unfortunately, the rest of the terminal was corruptly gibberish. I looked at the indolent expression on Rampage's face and asked sardonically, "Find anything useful?" Well, as she asked sardonically, "Find anything useful?" "Find anything useful?" "Nope, but you never know," I replied as we returned back into the hall. A few more bobby pins later, and the door at the end of the hall was unlocked as well. Excuse me. Pulling open the door, I saw a long catwalk stretched over a production floor. Hundreds of barrels were stacked on pallets, and many of them had fallen over and spilled heaps of white powder. Ammonium perchlorate. The boom. The stuff what goes boom. White powder. In the middle were a dozen chemistry sets and a trio of cooks busy making something. Dash? Yeah, I saw the empty inhalers in a bin next to one workstation. But they were also making something else. Those ampules were familiar. What was glaring out of place? What was glaringly out of place was a pen near a hatch on the second story. It was full of filthy and destitute scavengers, who were these dealers accepting slaves as payment? There were also a lot of guards, and automatic turrets watching the doors. I looked at Rampage and all that noisy, clangy metal. Even with the radio blaring Redbeard's bluster down by the cooks, I couldn't imagine that the ponies below would miss that racket. The radio's host's rusty voice boomed over the cavernous production space, over the hiss of hot plates and bubbling equipment. Now, I like to keep my ears open. I like to be a pony of the people. So eventually, I'm gonna hear some kind of brownish shit about security. Well, guess what, folks? Looks like security is a tired and tried and true devotee of a slut of flank after all. I hear on very good authority that security charged right into flank this afternoon, foaming at the mouth and grinning like a dash head in heat. So you heard it here, folks. Security, big tweaker. Rampage snickered softly, and I gave her a look. What? She asked defensively. My lips curled as I glanced at her hoof claws. What? She muttered, now worried. A minute later, she sulked out of the office with strips of sparklers' rags wrapped around each hoof like booties. This is humiliating. Shh! I warned her. And Glory, bringing up the rear, struggling not to laugh at the sight. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. 1 second, I'm gonna take a sip. Oh, that's funny. Well, let's get right back to it. Shh, I warned her. Glory, bringing up the rear, struggled not to laugh. Hey, we need more juice. Crowbar. One of the cooks shouted up to the balcony. Yeah, on it. A unicorn bug in leather barding yelled back as he walked to a crate and lifted some dash inhalers. Another guard opened the door of the pen and let out this slow stream of ponies. Come on, folks. We promise you dash, and you're gonna get dash. There was something decidedly creepy in his tone and grin as he bobbed the inhalers above their heads, leading them out the door. Whoa, excuse me. Ugh, 1 second. Alright, I'm back. When 14 or 15 were out, the doors closed in the face of the next pony, and the other guard brought up the rear of the addicts. I raised the hoof to my lips, and we followed the catwalk towards the balcony. There were still 2 guards remaining, and right now I found myself wishing that I had Minty Fresh's silenced pistol. Fortunately, Luna does provide the occasional blessing, such as a wonderful hoofful of bat, a wooden hoofball bat, laying on a table next to it some very dated copies of Playbook and Pony Life. Dash, you gonna give me dash? One of the prisoners mumbled. The guard turned, spotted me in my barding, and took a deep breath. That was as far as his shout got as I swung with all my horn strength and crushed his windpipe with a meaty thud. His mouth worked, forehead scrambling as he indicated at the indentation in his throat. The bat came around and knocked his rear hooves out from underneath him, and his face blackened. I kept him pinned. I heard a crack and thump from the direction of the other guards, what had been. Apparently, cloth booties were little protection against a mare that could kick your head so hard that it could flop around like a horn puppet. Ouchie. Well, maybe not ouchie. It'd kill you instantly. Come on, I whispered, as we moved along the balcony towards the open door. A few of the ponies in the cages looked at me dully. One called out as to ask if we had any dash, but the ponies below ignored the noise. The door led to the bridge connecting to the large cracked concrete water tank outside. From above, we could see that the dome atop the tank was busted and 4 large cages were bolted to the top of the tank around the rim. Yellow hazardous waste containers were strewn around the edges. For the moment, though, I was focused on the ponies loading the cages with addicts. What are they doing? Gloria asked softly. Can we just kill them and not? Can we just kill them all and not care? Rampage replied, munching down another menthol. Not yet. I glanced at the box of dash inhalers and lifted it to us. I want you two to get those prisoners out through the offices. Get them clear and make sure they're quiet. You're saving dash heads? I'm saving ponies, Rampage. You can leave if you don't like it. She looked at me levelly and sighed as she shook her head with a smile. Fine, I can play white hat. Best have her do all the talking, though. I was surprised by that. Oh, white hat, eh? Reminds me of the I ain't like that no more perk you get from in New Vegas upon reaching level 50. When the rest are clear, I'm going to start lighting up the crates. I don't know if they'll explode, but there's gotta be enough fireworks around here for something to go up. If not, well, do something smarter than what I'd do. Now get them out of here quietly, I said as I nodded to the cage. Gloria approached with soothing words as Rampage brought the box of dash inhalers. That left me to the other prisoners. Carefully, I stepped out onto the bridge that ran atop the pipes stretching from the fireworks factory. Back up the tubes! I'll back up the tube with you! Sorry, randomness moments. Yeah. We were like 2/3 of the way done here, folks. This is insane. I mean, we're like already at nearly 2 hours now. Oh, fuck me. Well, the next chapter is not too long. Let's go. Fortunately, my luck seemed to be changed. Carefully, I stepped out onto the bridge and ran atop the pipe, stretching from the fireworks factory to the water storage tank. Fortunately, my luck seemed to be changing. Every point with the gun was loading addicts to the heavy-duty cages running around the edge of the collapsed roof of the water tunnel. I moved as nonchalantly as possible. Loaded carbine with standard rounds. Of course, one look at me, and the party would start. There were lots of crates and empty waste barrels stacked along the bridge that I hung close to as I approached. It's getting too big, Domino. Too damn big. I caught the voice of the unicorn buck. I caught the voice of the unicorn buck that led the addicts out to the water tank. Crowbar watched as the added unicorns were loaded up. We keep putting barrels down there, like you say, but it's not working. Bigger is better. We're making caps. Horn over hoof. All we need is a few dozen more lab rats, and we'll have product better than anything mixers can offer. A unicorn with the strangest model black and white coat. She had an odd white mask for a cutie mark. Ring the bell. Ah, she's a theater pony. Crowbar levitated a crown. No, she's a society pony. Or like, she's a white glove. White glove! Ring the bell. Crowbar levitated a crowbar from his belt and wrapped it hard against an empty barrel. The guard shoved one pony into the tank with a yell that cut off with a splash. Then a deep growl filled the air. A serpentine head raised slowly above the edge of the hole and opened its mouth to let out a shriek. Even in severe dash withdrawal, the prisoners began to scream. A chain opened the door on the far side of one of the cages, and the head slipped into the hole and started to munch. The chain dropped and the heavy door closed, trapping it inside with its meal. A unicorn plugs a sharpened pipe into a pink, pulsating knot of flesh on the neck, and brownish red sludge poured out into a barrel. Suddenly, I know exactly where Hydra came from. Just as suddenly, I knew I never, ever wanted to take Hydra again. Show is fucking over. Let them out! I yelled as I stepped around a stack of pipes. The trapped Hydra head began to jerk at its bonds now that there were no pony treats within the savor. You! The dapple-colored mare exclaimed as she backed away. Kill her quickly before the others arrive. Ante up. Crowbar wasted no time swinging his length of steel at my head. I had little time to waste as I danced back and hit Sats, just as he jammed something into his thigh. Then, to my amazement, he actually started to move. The potion he'd injected accelerated him to the point that he crept closer in my vision. I toggled 4 shots to his head and released a spell. This time, Sats wasn't fast enough. Crowbar moved inside the range of my carbine barrel, and slammed into me as the guards left their positions near the cages and ran around the edge of the water tank. Okay, from here on out, it gets extremely chaotic, and, well, I'm a little bit of a fan of Discord. Kind of, because it comes with chocolate rain. How awesome is that? I mean, really? Alright. Okay. And to me, as a water tank. As I came out of Sats, the spell I found myself As I came out of the Sats spell, I found myself on my back with the rust-colored pony atop me. His horn glowed as the crowbar smashed across my face with such force that my next shots with the carbine went wide. I just needed a few seconds to focus. Just a few seconds. Pity to smash such a pretty face, he taunted, bringing the bar down right at my face as I struggled to control my gun. Then I opened my mouth wide, and the steel bar slammed right between my jaws. I felt enamel crack under the impact, but living in a stable had given me an unexpected advantage. Healthy teeth. Oh yeah. Yeah. Go Blackjack. Go Blackjack. My jaws clenched down, and I grinned around the bar and tried to yank it free. The carbine steadied and unloaded 6 rounds into his back. Screaming in pain, he rolled off me to get away. Then I realized why there were 4 cages, as a second head rose above the edge of the tank, dripping rainbow-tinted water. Then a third, and a fourth. Smaller vestigial heads snapped in the air like hungry pustules. Ew. Clearly he had risen in the anticipation of a meal, and was not happy to find the cages closed. Brown and twisted teeth snapped at the heavy metal bars, ironically now protecting the addicts inside. The practical beast began to strike the guards instead. Kill her! Kill it! Kill something! Domino shrieked as she levitated the sleek black automatic from her holster and began to fire. I rose to my hooves. He says feet again. Don't know why, Somber. It's hooves, not feet. They don't have feet, they have hooves. I rolled to my hooves and feeling the impact on my plates. I ran to the nearest cage, narrowing my eyes to cut down the nearest guard with some well-placed headshots. I slid behind the heavy metal just as one head snapped at me, moments too late. My horn flipped the carbine and emptied the remainder of the clip into its head, annoying the mutated behemoth, no doubt, but satisfying. Domino and the guards were, for the moment, occupied with the other angry heads. Oh, 1 second, got a fart in my throat. Okay, I'm good. The trapped head was now jerking with such force that I could hear the metal groaning and twisting. I looked at the locks. No time for bobby pins. I grabbed it and twisted with my magic and twisted. Slowly, the tumbler rotated bit by bit. Almost. Snap! And the lock broke. Really, Celestia? I mean, really? I looked at the old padlock. Well, I may not have been able to open the lock, but I still had a crowbar. I jammed the pry bar in and put all my weight upon it. I even tried to bounce a little. Then the lock snapped open and I fell flat on my face. Oh, that was a tooth missing. Oh, that was a tooth missing, all right. Not so healthy anymore. Getting to my hooves, I swapped out for fresh 12 gauge pump I swapped out for the 12 gauge pump action. Get ready to run! I shouted at them. Follow the catwalks back to the office. You'll find Dash outside. Okay, drug craving plus survival instinct trumped their brain-addled wits. Go! I shouted and jumped out from behind the cover of the cage, firing as fast as I could and screaming like a maniac. Oh, like the first few seconds of Immigrant Song. That was a good show. One Hydra head looked over at a portion of its buffet out in the open. 3 of the ponies were sickly and easy targets, but I was one dancing around like an idiot with a shotgun. It snapped as I dove onto the side. My shotgun blasted 3 solid hits to its skull, and its deformed jaw snapped where I'd stood seconds ago. Scrambling, I kept running as Domino backed around behind the cage with the trapped head. A guard charged toward me. Maybe he was running for his life. I don't know which. I hooked my front hooves into the bars and swung my entire body around, stemming him back. He staggered, staring at me in fury as he drew a machete from his belt. Then a Hydra mouth grabbed him and yanked him upwards. The mouth released him, flinging him screaming in the air. Another mouth grabbed his head, a third his haunches, and together they tore him in 2. Don't start, I warned my brain, smacking my forehead against the steel. For once, my subconscious seemed to be cutting me some slack. I looked at the lock, focused, twisted, and snap. Luna, piss on you, and all locks. You rusty piece of shit. I screamed at the indifferent, inanimate object. I jammed the crowbar in and put my weight on again. I even tried using my horn to add the last bits of force. The crowbar bent. Then the lock broke. I started, but the 3 ponies inside bolted as soon as I had the door opened. One Hydra head snapped out, catching the leg of a mare. I screamed, running towards the head before it could get a better bite. I blew out one of the 5 eyes with one shot, and then jabbed the barrel into the oozing cavity for a second. Gore splattered me. Damn, go Blackjack, go Blackjack. For all I knew, I was adding to my tank total, but that didn't matter right now. My shots worked. I managed to get its attention in a big way. The mare limped for her life as the wounded head reared back. The trapped head twisted and thrashed, pulling and pulling, and the whole wall of the water tank began to crumble. I ran around towards where the last cage perched, and suddenly the ledge gave way. The cage fell into the skimming rainbow-slicked water along with the cage holding the Hydra head. Water began to pour out of the breach as the trapped head worked itself free. The edge of the water tank crumbled under a dapple-hided unicorn. And with a scream, Domino tumbled into the water and disappeared from sight. Small favors. That was it, then. No reason for me to stay here. I stood and started back for the bridge. Then when the crowbar slammed into me like a rabid dragon. We went rolling, my shotgun scared out of range. He laughed hysterically and kicked and stomped like a maniac. The bullet holes weren't slowing him down at all, and I could see why. From all the empty ampules and needles scattered about, he dosed himself up with the entire medicine cabinet. The Hydra began to pull itself free, but Crowbar only had eyes for me as he grabbed my ear in his teeth, and pulled me over off my hooves. Gonna smash you! Gonna smash you good! He screamed. I struggled to push him off, but it was no good. I raised my rear hoof and slammed his nuts with all my might. He didn't even feel it. Son of a... That usually works. I raised my rear hoof. I hit Sats and toggled 3 telekinetic blasts to his face. The first smashed his eye like a hammer, but he jerked his head, and the last 2 did far less damage. In fact, as I watched, his eye was regenerating. Gonna kill you, 'cause I'm stronger. I'm stronger. Ooh, excuse me. He screamed and pressed his hooves to my skull and started to squeeze. I felt ominous noises. The chems made him stronger, tougher, regenerating. But then I looked at the oozing gray flesh. It was time to raise or fold. Yeah, but you're not heavier. But you're not heavier. I shouted and braced my limbs and lifted with all I was worth. The Hydra's head came down, bit into his back, and lifted him into the air. His death grip on my head was so tight it yanked me into the air after him. Another head lunged for me, a tasty, helpless snack. When I slipped free and fell to the metal planking, 2 bites and Crowbar was gone. I prayed it was just my imagination that I could hear him scream as he slid down a monster's gullet. Oh yeah, with the full medicine cabinet inside you, I would expect you would last a bit longer than 2 crunches. I got to my hooves and ran for my life. There you go, finally, Somber, you did it right. It's hooves, not feet, thank you. I'm gonna take a sip. I got to my hooves and ran for my life. The entire bridge shook and suddenly slanted up as it crumbled under the Hydra's weight. My hooves scrabbled for purchase on the metal as the monster crawled out of its tank after the next morsel in sight. Me. For once I got lucky. The garbage stacked on the leaning bridge slumped into the Hydra more than it did me, and I pulled myself up, firing blindly behind. When the shotgun was empty, I swapped to the carbine again. Inside the factory, Glory stood on the catwalk, strafing enemies while Rampage engaged half a dozen as a screaming, thrashing madmare. The turrets were smoking wrecks, but there were more than a dozen cooks and guards firing at the pair. I ran through the rail and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Run!" Glory stopped raining magical beams at the enemy. The guards looked staring up at me in shock. Rampage clutched a pony in her hooves, mindlessly chewing on one ear. For a second, I was sure that they would flee. Then, kill her! And now they're firing at me and Glory, and had resumed dogpiling on Rampage. I screamed in frustration and ducked for cover. Then 4 Hydra heads roared with hunger, and once more the shooting stopped. The 4 heads slammed through the open door behind me, snapping at me as the monster's incredible bulk tore the wall apart. The balcony collapsed with the wall behind me, slipping down. Ow! I just pinched myself in a tender place because I always wear jeans. Yeah, in country boy. What you gonna do? Alright. Balcony collapsed with the wall behind me, slumping down into the floor as the catwalks collapsed. Glory yelped as she scrambled back to the offices. Rampage snapped the neck of her pony, then looked at the Hydra with a whoop. Alright, now that's something to fight, she said as she tossed the body to the side and leapt to her hooves. Oh, sweet Celestia, sweet Lunar Rampage, you are my favorite pony. Favorite OC. Run, you idiot! I said as I picked myself up, facing the monster as it crawled through the hole after its lunch. Run? So positively incensed. Run? I'm a Reaper. We don't run. She yelled as she charged at the Hydra. One mouth bit down her steel-plated ass, and the other grabbed her head and lifted her into the air, pulling and twisting. Rampage laughed in glee, twisting and kicking whenever she could as her bladed armor cut into the monster's mouths. Yeah, you like that? I'll tear you apart from the inside out. She might be psychopath. She might be psychotic, but she did give every pony a chance to get out of there. Unfortunately, I couldn't imagine that even she'd be able to stop that thing. Not the first time, I limited my lack of heavy weaponry. Even a grenade would be boxes full of strange and hazardous chemicals, dumps of old, strange and hazardous chemicals, more boxes thrown off the sides and full of fireworks, and me with lots of incendiary bullets. Stupid, crazy, and liable to get me killed. What was I waiting for? My telekinesis loaded the carbine with red incendiary rounds, and I raced across the factory, shooting anything that looked remotely flammable. Oh, sweet Luna, I love you, Blackjack. My two favorite things in the world: fire and things that go boom. Yeah. As long as a big flashy boom too. So naturally, I love incendiary grenades. The beakers and chemistry sets in the middle of the room started burning quite readily, but they didn't have the force I needed. The two free heads of the Hydra continued snapping after me, as the other pair continued to break their teeth on Rampage's armor. I focused on any crate marked boom, guessing the fireworks were my best bet. One crate seat started to smoke, fizzle, and then there was a pop. That's it. That was it. Oh, come on! What kind of fireworks don't explode? The Hydra had enough of the Reaper. With a snap of its heads, it threw her with such force that she shattered the reinforced glass in a window and went flying out. Now it's just one edible morsel and 4 hungry heads. And after it ate me, would it eventually wander to flank? I backed towards the door and behind me, and took aim at the middle barrels across the room marked with ammonium. She found the boom stuff. Ammonium something or other. There were 3 burning rounds punched to the metal. There was a hiss, a pop, then a flame so bright it nearly blinded me jetting out from the metal drum and sprayed across the back of the Hydra. The fire spread to the rest of the stack. I really wish I had one of Crowbar's acceleration potions as I ran to the front door. Cool guys, don't look at explosions. There wasn't a boom so much as a roar that built and built. A great wind lifted me up and threw me through the door like a bullet as the chemical sun dawned on the wasteland. I rolled across the parking lot and landed sitting in a heap. Then the factory exploded. Boom Inc. The Boom Inc. factory lived up to its namesake as the wall disintegrated in a detonation that slammed me flat on my back. Any Hydra that may have remained inside was vaporized, and the shockwave drained what remained of the water in the tank. The deluge put out most of the fire, though not much remained after the explosion. Oh my! I'm just remembering a chemical factory explosion a while back. Severe tragedy, killed dozens, but man, did it make one pretty boom. I'm just imagining that, only with fireworks in this one. I picked myself up, slung the carbine around my neck, and walked to where the remaining guards and freed ponies watched in amazement. I looked at them, grinning a lot, minus one tooth, damn it, and said, Pinkie Pie was right. Explosions are fun. Then rolled my eyes up in my sockets as I crashed face first into the ground. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Okay. Of all of y'all, please leave a comment if you like explosions, and I will love you forever. I am giddy as a school feeling with the first crush right now at all these explosions. Apparently, me blowing up a factory and a monster in one go was enough of a spectacle that none of the survivors thought to cut my head off while I was out. Glory, who had the common sense to flee, and Rampage, who'd been ejected for being indigestible, had reinforced how that would be a bad idea. And so I came to once again in the auto dock. Apparently, shockwaves were bad for the brain, particularly when you just recovered from a near-death experience less than a day prior. Oh, Blackjack, you are awesome. Okay, I am definitely gonna do another one of these because this next chapter I have read and I listened to 2D the reader do it, and he does it great, but his recording environment is less than optimal. Lots of dial-up sounds in the background often, and it hurts my ears. No, but if you want, if that doesn't bother you too much, go give him a listen. That's 2D the reader. Yeah, like 3D only 2D, and then the reader. Yeah. You stay here another week, and I'll be able to retire to Ten Pony Tower. Scrabble said with a dry chuckle as I emerged from the machine a fourth time. Excuse me. Then she shook her head a bit sadly. Never seen a pony so set on getting herself blown up. Her eyes peered up at me, as if searching for something. So did you do good? Wait, so you did good? I stretched and shook myself, then brushed my black and red hair out of my face. You tell me. Uh, the mature lavender mare shrugged. I got 30 or so ponies lining up to start detox. It's a lot. It's a lot harder than scavenging for dash to get cheap. Than scavengers. It's a lot harder for scavengers to get cheap dash. And I heard that Caprice is plenty happy. Some pony finally took care of that operation over in the fireworks factory. So yeah, I'd say you did good. You done good. I sat inside. I sighed as I sat. Still not good. Still not enough though. Scalpel shook her head. You've done more in a night for folks than any pony ever did. How can you not be square after that? I sighed and closed my eyes. Oh, man, Blackjack, you know how to kill a buzz. You're worse than Buzz Killington. You do everything you can to make up for it, knowing that you'll never succeed in getting rid of the guilt. You devote yourself to spending every second trying to do better, despite the fact that it will never be enough. And you pray that with every single good act you do, that somehow, when your life is over, that your lifetime will come close to making up for the wrongs you committed. Scalpel stared in shock. What was all that? Something some pony told me to make up for a wrong I did. I thought it was my first. It wasn't. It wasn't even my worst wrong. I said quietly, still smiling. It's why I know I'll never be square. It's why I've always got to keep trying and make it square. And I'll always lose. I sighed. There were 3 ponies who died in a cage. Maybe I could have saved them if I tried harder. I don't know. Scalpel looked at me for one moment, then grumbled. You're an idiot. Then she put her hooves around me in a brief, tight hug before releasing me. Bravest, boldest damn idiot in the wasteland. But still an idiot. Blackjack, man. You're just so awesome. You make Rainbow Dash proud, man. I'm not even kidding. Who all thinks you would do Rainbow Dash proud? Alright? Alright. She muttered as she stood and walked to the door. Now, if you don't mind, I've got a waiting room full of dash heads wanting to try and kick their fix. So if you'll excuse me, I'm pretty sure Caprice can place you, got you a place. I'm pretty sure Caprice got you a place to stay at rooms. To be honest, I was pretty tired. Gloria was looking for P21 again. Rampage was doing whatever it was she did. I just wanted to buy something to eat at the trough and sleep until I woke up naturally. No explosions, no horrors, nothing. I passed on some fresh apples from the society, even though they offered a discount. I'd take 2-century-old food over the product of slave labor. Go Blackjack, go Blackjack, go Blackjack, go Blackjack. Then I trotted over to the hotel to find a room that had been booked for me. Very nice, quiet, 3rd floor. Oh my gosh. That's exactly the same floor that was the quiet floor at the last con I was at. Oh my gosh. Alright. I had to admit, of all places in Equestria, the suite sure fit the bill. The room smelled only a little bit of mold, and the water stains on the ceiling weren't super large. I locked the door and sat back to read the hoof-to-hoof book I found in Miramir's footlocker, in the Miramir's locker room. Thanks, Wesley, for the big pictures. I read about a fighting called Fallen Kaisar that reminded me of a zebra in No Points Land charging the marauders. It looked terrifying, to be honest. Doom bunny techniques sounded even worse. Martial arts with Stampede could not be pretty. The entry marked Fool's Gambit made me chuckle. Whoever heard of a fighting style based entirely on moment-to-moment improvisation? Unfortunately, while I could really use a nap, my brain wasn't making it easier for me to get one. I kept playing back the fight with the Hydra. I kept looking at the cage full of ponies falling into the rainbow water. Could I have jumped in and saved them? Had there been an option I missed? Shut the fuck up, Blackjack. Oh well. Why did my stupid brain never make anything easy? Not being able to sleep boredom. Not being able to sleep bordered on boredom for me, and boredom was intolerable. I considered reading one of Glory's equestrian scientificas, but half a paragraph about magical crystal reactors had me feeling stupid, not sleepy. I needed something else to do. Well, I still had those 2 memory orbs from Miramir, and the ones I'd found in Kano Cupcake's office. No. The last time I was inside one of those things, I was captured by the Enclave. Before that, it was a magical trap, and one shut my brain down. I muttered, but I dug the orbs out anyway. The door was locked. It was perfectly safe, right? It wasn't like I needed a guard while I was out. I looked skeptically at the 2 orbs and lifted one with my magic. I felt the magical connection form. Then, nothing. Clearly this orb had been locked as well. Maybe it was some kind of classified secret of Colonel Cupcakes. Maybe it was just about the Marauders, or Vanity's little memory extraction of Jetstream. I wish I could have taken another peek in Macintosh Mary Pony and the stars. Whoosh! Okay, warning next time, please. This memory seemed to have little to do with stars, however, as I found myself surrounded by a cacophony of noise and activity. Dust and smoke filled my lungs as I I loomed. I rose above the milling crowd with slow, sure steps. Careful steps. A sprig of wheat dangled from my mouth. Big. Chewing on grass. Glimpses of red hide and brown mane. I had an inkling of whose memory I was in. Of whose memory this was. All around me, I saw the reconstruction of Hoofington. A massive open pit in the north end of the island connected to train tunnels. As the train cars pulled through, teams of Pegasi would fly down and attach hooks to the I-beams, or sacks of concrete, or whatever else they were unloading, and lifted them with the cranes out of the pit and into rail cars that ran along the city streets. Teams of earth ponies stood by, hauling their load. Hauling their loads out and through the city in a constant stream of activity. Everywhere I looked, ponies worked. Everywhere I looked, Hoofington rose. Unfortunately, all the construction around the pit made it more than a bit hazardous. Big Macintosh kept his eyes open, but the same could not be said about the light blue unicorn trying along the entrance along with a map in front of her face. Now, if this is north and that is, I think, east, that is east, then I think I need to head this way, she muttered as she peered at the map in her face. Miss, Big Macintosh warned as she approached the rails. 6 tough earth ponies were hauling a stack of metal rods along the rails, down the middle of the street. Locals stopped well back of the supply line, but the unicorn didn't seem aware of how close she was to the rails. But I already went that way. Oh, confound it. Why can't any pony label anything in this city? It's crazy. Miss! Big Macintosh's voice rose high rose a touch higher in concern as more ponies started to shove in behind her. Ugh, why can't this place be more like Manhattan? I can at least see a statue of friendship in the harbor, and there was a hard shove through the as three arguing ponies rammed into the blue unicorn, knocking her onto the rails. Get out of the way! The lead pony in the cart shouted in alarm. We can't stop! Big Macintosh didn't hesitate. He dove towards the fallen unicorn, and as the lead ponies almost stomped her. Don't worry, miss, I got... She disappeared in a flash of purple magic. You? Macintosh staggered forwards onto the tracks. He looked at the oncoming train and jumped clear just in time. Then the pulling team shouted for him to go back to Ponyville. He sat down hard as the supply train looked past, looking around. Miss, you all right? Over here, the light blue unicorn said as she adjusted her thick glasses and then blinked. Big Macintosh? Her mane was a darker navy with a streak of electric blue in her tail and mane. I couldn't make out her cutie mark. Her saddlebag covered it up too well. Yep. You know me, miss? She said as he stood and walked towards her. As the supply train passed the crowd, the crowd resumed their motions around the city. Ah, her blue eyes widened behind her glasses. Applejack, the ministry mayor mentioned you. You're her older brother? Oh, you work for AJ, huh? She smiled nervously and gave a hesitant little nod. Kind of. I'm actually working for the Ministry of Arcane Sciences, though. New to the hoof? He asked, his very presence making the crowd break around him like a river. I wondered if she'd appreciated it. She was kind of puny. Does it show that much? He chuckled softly. Yep. What's your name, miss? He asked with an easygoing smile. More impressive, he wasn't checking her out. She had the cute librarian look down perfectly, but his eyes stayed off her butt and on her face. Oh, the gentle cult. Very nice. Ah, my name is Mary Pony. She stammered as she blushed and forced a grin. Oh, some point definitely like Big Red. Oh, don't think about that, brain. Oh, I swear. Mary Pony. And actually, I have an appointment with the Ministry of Arcane Sciences Hub. Only, she looked around. I'm not sure where that is. I have a map, and, oh dear. She found her map, ground and mangled between the tracks. Ministries are around the plaza pit. Go towards Mount Hoof. He said, pointing to the street at the knot of granite rising up from the south of the island. From the south end of the island. I'll walk you. He offered with a casual smile. Oh no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, she said with a blush. Oh yep, don't have to, but I will anyway. Take him up on his offer, Mary Pony. You won't regret it. Of course, I guess she probably accepted, given what I'd seen before. Though, maybe she did regret it. Ah! Why did I have to think that? It was like I'd come across some juicy novel that I had already read the last chapter. Such a spoiler. Still, she finally accepted his offer and seemed to relax a bit. So, what's your business in Hoof? If I may ask, what's your business in the Hoof? If I may ask, Miss Mary Pony? Yeah, time for a sip. Alright, and I'm back. That was more of a gulp than a sip, but alright. He asked as they walked along the busy streets. Many of the buildings were already 10 stories tall and growing. Organizing this mess. Since the ministries were established, we've been running our tails off trying to get things organized. Piggy Pie has it easy. It really doesn't matter if ponies are arranged in a department of amusement parks or the birthday cake corp. And Fluttershy's ministry is organizing itself for her, I think. But the MAS and the MAS and MWT are a lot more complicated. The office of the OYA is trying to sort it all out, but with the reconstruction and all, things in the hoof are a little fuzzy. That's not good. I see. So you're here for Twilight Sparkle trying to get this hub situated? She glanced at him and then nodded, gave a little nod. Mm-hmm. Something like that. The Manhattan and Candlelight and the other hubs are already well organized. But since the hoof is all about interministry cooperation, this hub needs to be established from the ground up. So here I am. Surprised Sparkle herself didn't come. Or Twilight Sparkle... Surprised Twilight Sparkle didn't come herself. Big Macintosh said as I stepped aside for a wagon loaded with crates and boxes. Oh, she wanted to, Mary Pony replied with a grunt. But one of the things about being a ministry mayor is you can't take 2 steps without everybody falling over themselves to either suck up to you or trying to be genuinely helpful and doing everything for you. They reached the edge of an enormous pit in the earth. Here the rails didn't just enter the bottom of the pit. They were actually bridging this spanning gulf. More infrastructure was being built even further down into the pit. Mary Pony's eyes popped wide. How in a question did something like this get dug out? Big Macintosh chuckled. Sand dogs. Sand dogs? Big Macintosh walked to the fence surrounding the pit and pointed a hoof down towards where the several teams of canines were working. Their claws seemed to magically tear away the rock before them. Well, they used to call themselves diamond dogs. Then the war got started and their home was mined for gems for the war effort. Threw them out of their tails. So when Reconstruction started, Gold went to them and offered them all a job as they got the tunnels under the city. They get paid in gems and have a nice place to live. And Huffington rises. Most... Excuse me, I'm very sorry about that. Most of them hope to return home someday. Oh, well, I hope that'll be possible. One day, Mary Pony said softly. Still, I'm glad Snow Pony found a place for them. The hoof has a place for every pony, as long as you're willing to work and you're not striped. Folks around here have a particularly powerful dislike of zebra folks. Mary Pony sighed. But that's not any evidence the zebra even caused the fire. The comment drew a lot of angry glances. If it hadn't been the Big Macintosh, I suspect some point might have tried something. Maybe not. Huffington Raz is all the same. Anywho, this is Ministry Plaza. You want the purple one. Mary Pony seemed to balk at the sight of the buildings. It's purple. Why purple? Matches Twilight Sparkle. Mary Pony gaped at him and then chuckled. What? All the buildings are standardized. Gotta do something to make them out and make them stand out. Blue for awesome, white for image, pink for morale, orange for tech, yellow for peace, and purple for arcane sciences. I guess it does make sense, she said with a sigh, looking over at the rising skyscrapers covered in purple-colored stone. Even half finished, it was clear that it was already quite busy. Each ministry building was filled up an entire space of a 6-sided block around the pit, and they were built with bridges connecting each ministry to the ministry next to it. That's still a lot of purple. Well, Miss Mary Pony, there's your stop. I guess I'll be leaving you to it. Yes. Thank you, Big Macintosh, she stammered. He looked back at her with that easy, confident smile. No worries, miss. If you're ever in Huffington, let me know. I'm stationed over at Miramare. We can meet in town. We can meet in a town. We can meet in a little town I know named Withers, if you'd rather get away from all the noise. Got some kin that live up that way, too. I'd like that, very much, she said happily. She was reluctant to turn away, but did so with notable awkwardness as she trotted back to the ministry building. Big Macintosh chuckled as he turned as well. Mary Pony, huh? Whoosh. Coming out of the memory, I felt that familiar sense of disorientation. but not really as bad as leaving Stonewing's memory. That was Macintosh's first memory of Mary Pony. I wonder why he'd saved it. Maybe he'd planned to give it to her as a present, entrusting it to Colonel Cupcake. No, I sat up in the bed, looking at the little glowing orb with a small frown. No, not for when he got back. He saved it in case they didn't come back from home from Saturn Hoof Ridge. Maybe Mary Pony hadn't wanted it. Maybe Colonel Cupcake hadn't been able to find the blue unicorn. Maybe I was wearing it. Maybe I was wearing an explosive slave collar. Oh, Blackjack, you're just awesome. I rolled to my hooves, seeing the great band tied around my throat in the cracked mirror. U-21 sat next to the door, a floating detonator beside him. None of that now. Told you, takes you forever to snap out of those things. A buck at the table said as he flipped through Glory's copy of Scientific Equestria. P-21 set the magazine aside, his blue eyes hard and dark as the deepest holes in Stable 99 as he smiled back up at me. Evening, Blackjack. Miss me? Dun dun dun! Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Hit the deck! I had to do that, I'm sorry. You've been hit by one too many explosions. Perhaps it's time to consider a new career. 25 damage threshold against plus 25 damage threshold against explosives. Shite, it's a lot. That's enough to negate a lot of the smaller explosions if you're wearing good armor. Nice. And that is the end of chapter 15. Don't worry though, I'm not gonna leave you ponies hanging. I'm doing 16 right after I get this one started to upload. Yeah. Actually, I'll just start a new Audacity document and start it as I'm converting this one. Woo! Wow, that looks really weird on the little waveform. Awesome. Alright, y'all. I'm excited. This next one's going to be so awesome. I'm going to get right to it. Nightlife out.